Have you ever noticed how native English speakers just seem to keep conversations flowing, like, totally effortlessly? Well, they're actually using this tiny, almost invisible trick. It bridges the gap between a standard statement and an engaging question. And today, we're going to uncover the secret rules behind English tag questions. To make this actually fun and useful for you, we are absolutely not just going to stare at dry grammar rules. Instead, we've got two characters, student A and student B, and we're going to eavesdrop on their everyday conversations to see exactly how they use these catchy little phrases to connect. Let's dive in.
So here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to look at what a tag question actually is, learn the golden rule, dive into auxiliary and modal verbs, do a little practice together, and then see how it all plays out in everyday conversations.
All right, part one. What exactly is a tag question?
Let's just listen in on student A for a second. They turn to their friend and casually ask, "You haven't tried Japanese food, have you?" Now, I want you to notice the specific rhythm there. Student A makes this clear statement first, pauses for just a fraction of a second, and then tags on that little "have you" right at the very end. That tiny addition, it literally transforms a flat, kind of boring statement into an inviting conversation. It practically begs the other person to respond.
And that perfectly captures our core definition. A tag question is simply a short question added to the end of a statement. But think about the why here. Why do we do this? We use these tags when we're pretty sure we already know the answer, but we want to invite the listener to agree with us. It's a psychological cue, really. It's a super friendly way of saying, "Am I right?" or "Hey, we're on the same page, aren't we?" It keeps that conversational ball bouncing between two people.
Moving right along to part two, the golden rule, affirmative and negative.
Let's go back to our friends. Student A is trying to confirm some plans and says, "That's happening tonight, isn't it?" Okay, pay close attention to the grammatical mechanics happening right under the surface here. The first half of that sentence is completely positive or affirmative. That is happening. But watch what happens at the end. The little tag flips completely to a negative form, isn't it? So why exactly does it do that?
Well, this brings us to the golden rule of tag questions, and it's really all about finding balance. Picture a playground seesaw. When we state a positive fact because we fully expect the answer to be yes, we're putting an affirmative sentence on one side of our seesaw. Now, to keep that seesaw from totally tipping over, we have to balance it out with a negative tag on the other side. Positive statement, negative tag. It creates this perfect grammatical balance that just feels incredibly natural to the ear.
But what happens if we flip the whole scenario? Student B jumps into the chat now, and they use the exact opposite pattern to complain about something. They say, "It isn't very nice, is it?" Do you hear the shift in the balance there? The rule works beautifully in reverse. If we're stating a negative fact, meaning we think the answer is no, the seesaw tips the other way. We place a negative sentence on one side, like "it isn't very nice," and we have to balance it immediately with a positive tag on the other side. Is it? Negative statement, positive tag. Seriously, if you can just visualize this seesaw in your mind while you speak, constantly balancing your positives and negatives, you've already mastered the absolute hardest part of tag questions.
Let's hit part three, auxiliary and modal verbs.
Okay, so we understand the seesaw now, but how do we know exactly which words to put in the tag itself? The rule is surprisingly simple. You'll literally just become a mirror. If your main sentence uses a to-be verb, like is, are, was, or were, you simply grab that exact same verb, carry it over to your tag, and flip it based on our seesaw rule. For example, if you say, "You are coming," you just mirror that are to the end and make it negative, aren't you? You don't have to overthink it at all. Just mirror the verb you already used.
And the best part, this brilliant mirroring trick doesn't just stop at to-be verbs. It applies seamlessly to modal verbs too. You know, those helpful words like can, will, should, or must. The golden rule here is, absolutely do not change the modal verb when you create the tag. Just pick it up, carry it right over to the end of the sentence, and flip its polarity so the seesaw stays balanced.
Let's hear how that sounds in a real conversation. Imagine someone getting a bit frustrated and venting. They should do something about it, shouldn't they? See what happened? We take the positive modal should from the main sentence, carry it all the way to the end, and flip it to the negative shouldn't. It becomes incredibly logical once you start seeing the pattern.
All right, part four. Let's practice together. Time to put your new knowledge to the test. We're going to play a quick matching game. We have some sentence stems here, and we need to logically match them with their correct, scrambled tags to see how this all works in real time. Let's look at the first one. You're Mariam's cousins. First step, identify the verb. Your is just short for you are.
And it's a positive statement, right? So our mental seesaw tells us we need a negative tag using the word are. Scan the options on the right, and yep, there it is. Mentally draw a line connecting "you're Mariam's cousins" to "aren't you?" Boom, you've got it.
Let's try just one more. The ground was too cold in February. Can you guess the correct tag for this sentence before I reveal it? Take a second. Look closely at the verb. It's was. And it's a positive statement. So what needs to go on the other side of the seesaw?
And there we have it. Because was is affirmative, the seesaw tips, and the tag must become the negative wasn't it. The ground was too cold in February, wasn't it? See? You are definitely getting the hang of this for sure.
Finally, Part 5, Everyday Life Conversations.
Let's bring Student A and Student B back for our grand finale to see this in action. They're actually planning a school garden project together, and this is where all these grammar rules come to life naturally. Student A is feeling a bit anxious about the timeline. They say the garden project must start soon. What modal tag completes this thought? Remember our mirror rule.
Exactly right. The positive modal must naturally flips to the negative mustn't. The garden project must start soon, mustn't it? Now, notice how this sounds so much more conversational, friendly, and collaborative than if they had just bluntly commanded, "Must the project start soon?" The tag actively invites the other person into the planning process.
Student B replies, and you can tell they're definitely feeling the pressure now. They use a negative statement. If we don't begin, we won't finish in time. And then they follow it up brilliantly with a positive tag, will we? Won't is literally just the negative form of will, so the seesaw balances perfectly from negative back to positive.
But hey, they aren't going to let the stress get to them. They end their conversation on an enthusiastic, highly positive note. We can have a lot of fun with this project, can't we? They applied the exact same mirroring rule to the modal can. Positive statement, negative tag. The conversation flows perfectly, and both friends walk away feeling heard and agreed with.
And just like that, we've decoded the secret. By simply balancing your positive and negative verbs on that grammatical seesaw, you're instantly going to sound more fluid and native. But I want to leave you with one final thought. Tag questions really aren't just about grammar. They are deeply tied to human connection. We use them because we fundamentally crave agreement, validation, and a shared reality with the people we're talking to. So the next time you use one in your English practice, ask yourself, are you just checking a fact, or are you actually trying to build a bridge with the listener? You'll start noticing them everywhere now, won't you? Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep up the great practice.